What do you people want with me? Why are you trying to frame me?
Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap the entire Jason Bourne franchise. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. He disappeared without a trace, only to re-emerge as the most formidable ghost the world has ever known. Journey from the Bourne identity to Jason Bourne and follow the harrowing tale of a man relentlessly pursued by the CIA, betrayed by the very entity he helped to create. Armed solely with his instincts, his fists, and the shadows of his past, he is compelled to confront an ever-deepening darkness. As he delves deeper into his own history, the unsettling truth threatens to consume him. As the film begins, a tempest rages over the sea where a lifeless body floats among the tumultuous waves. Below deck on a nearby fishing boat, a spirited game of cards is in full swing. In a careless moment, one of the fishermen tosses his refuse overboard, inadvertently revealing the floating corpse. Alarmed by the sight, 5 of the fishermen rush to haul the seemingly dead man aboard their vessel. Initially convinced he is beyond saving, they quickly carry him below deck and lay him flat on their makeshift card table, urgently summoning their onboard medic. Upon examining the man, the doctor discovers multiple gunshot wounds scattered across his body. Armed only with a trusty knife, he embarks on the daunting task of extracting the bullets. During this process, he notices an unusual scar on the man's hip. Curiosity piqued, he carefully slices it open, uncovering a small metallic object that projects a bank account number from Zurich. Just then, the man stirs back to consciousness and seizes the doctor by the neck, demanding an explanation for his predicament. In an effort to calm him, the doctor introduces himself as John Carlo and assures him that he is among friends. He then inquires about the mysterious metallic object, but the man is baffled, unable to recall even his own name. Meanwhile, miles away at CIA headquarters in Langley, Conklin, head of CIA Black Ops, receives alarming reports regarding a failed assassination attempt on Wambosi, an exiled African dictator. Back on the fishing boat, our enigmatic protagonist is not merely waiting idly. Despite his foggy past and lost memories, he rolls up his sleeves and assists the fisherman as he begins to recover. Driven by an urgent need to discover his identity and piece together the events that led to his dire situation, he demonstrates a range of skills and talents. Yet, the one answer he craves, the truth of who he is, remains tantalizingly out of reach. As dawn breaks, the fishing vessel arrives at a Swiss port. In a gesture of goodwill, the doctor hands the stranger some money and wishes him luck on his uncertain journey ahead. Armed with fragmented memories, a small amount of cash, and a laser pointer, the sole clue to his past, he embarks on a train journey across the country, ultimately arriving in the bustling city of Zurich. That night, however, he finds himself forced to sleep in a public park. It is here that 2 policemen approach him, demanding to see his identification. He attempts to explain his situation, but his words are met with skepticism. Suddenly, as if triggered by an instinctual response, the stranger springs into action, effortlessly subduing both officers. Startled and alarmed, he wastes no time in fleeing the scene. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, high-ranking military officials and CIA operatives gather to discuss the repercussions of the botched assassination attempt. On a nearby screen, Wambosi broadcasts his grievances, accusing the US government of threatening his family and vowing revenge. He asserts that he narrowly escaped an assassination attempt, a claim met with skepticism by those present in the room. Following the meeting, tension escalates when CIA Deputy Director Abbott pulls Conklin aside to question him about his potential involvement in the failed mission. Conklin, who leads the covert Treadstone program, reluctantly admits that they lost an assassin during the operation. Abbott's anger is palpable. Conklin, known for his impeccable track record, has now placed everyone in jeopardy, intensifying the already fraught atmosphere. Meanwhile, our enigmatic stranger makes his way to the bank linked to the account number revealed by the laser pointer. Once inside, he gains access to a safety deposit box associated with that account. Left alone with the box, his curiosity overwhelms him, and he hastily pries it open to reveal a passport bearing his image and the name Jason Bourne. His intrigue only deepens when he discovers a false bottom within the box. Beneath it lies a surprising cache, bundles of cash, firearms, and an assortment of passports featuring different names but all showcasing his face. One alias catches his eye, John Michael Caine. Confronted with this bewildering collection of identities, he quickly decides to gather everything into his bag, deliberately leaving behind the firearms. As Jason makes his exit, he feels the bank manager's suspicious gaze lingering on him before the manager swiftly dials a number. Once outside, Jason's determination solidifies. He is resolute in uncovering his past. However, a police officer's piercing stare alerts him to the growing presence of law enforcement in the area, with patrol cars racing by. A sense of imminent danger heightens his awareness, prompting him to quicken his pace and blend into the crowd. Despite his efforts, he notices officers trailing him. Thinking quickly, he ducks into the American consulate, hoping to elude capture. Unfortunately, his momentary refuge is short-lived as the security chief recognizes him and moves to apprehend him. Feigning surrender, Jason seizes the moment and, with lightning-fast reflexes, takes down the guards surrounding him and snatches a firearm. Fueled by adrenaline, he bolts through the building, incapacitating another guard and commandeering his walkie-talkie to stay one step ahead of those pursuing him. Meanwhile, armed military personnel swarm the premises, scouring every corner for Jason. He deftly maneuvers toward an emergency exit and escapes onto the fire escape, climbing to the rooftop. In his haste, however, he drops his bag, his lifeline, now precariously resting a few floors below. Undeterred, Jason skillfully navigates down the crumbling fire escape, narrowly avoiding detection by guards. With unwavering resolve, he makes his way along the building until he reaches the ground, retrieves his bag, and swiftly disappears into the bustling streets below. He encounters a young woman he had noticed earlier in the consulate lamenting her financial woes. Seizing the moment, he offers her an enticing sum of $10,000 to drive him to Paris. Initially dismissing it as a jest, she is unable to resist when he doubles the offer to $20,000. Back at CIA headquarters, the atmosphere is tense as Conklin receives alarming news regarding a withdrawal from the bank. With a newfound sense of urgency, he galvanizes his team to locate Jason, meticulously combing through databases, records, and security camera footage scattered throughout the city. Amidst the overwhelming array of images, one blurry security photo emerges as a beacon of hope. It may not be crystal clear, but it's sufficient for Conklin to spring into action. He authorizes his Black Ops agents, Castell, Monheim, and a professor, to apprehend Jason Bourne by sundown, whether dead or alive. Meanwhile, in stark contrast to this high-stakes pursuit, Jason and Marie are en route to Paris. As the kilometers slip by, Marie fills the silence with anecdotes from her life, and Jason encourages her to keep speaking, revealing that it's been ages since he's had a meaningful conversation. Intrigued by this enigmatic stranger who paid an astonishing $20,000 for a ride, Marie is taken aback when Jason confides in her about his troubling reality. He has no recollection of his past. Back at Langley, fortune favors Conklin and his team as they uncover video footage of Jason interacting with Marie. They swiftly pull her records to trace her whereabouts, plastering their faces across wanted reports. The net around Jason and Marie tightens ominously. As the two travelers take a break at a rest stop, Jason decides to unburden himself, sharing the bizarre experiences that have haunted him recently. He grapples with the unsettling truths of his past, perplexed by the contents of his safety deposit box and the mysterious account number etched into his hip. Marie, stepping into the role of confidant, reassures him that they will uncover the answers together. As they continue their journey, exhaustion finally overtakes Jason, prompting him to catch some much-needed rest. The following morning, they arrive at the address listed on Jason's passport and park a distance away. The impending separation weighs heavily on them. Their bond has deepened during their time together. Sensing this, Marie chooses to stay close. Upon approaching the building, Jason is greeted by a woman who recognizes him and warmly welcomes him home. They receive the keys to his apartment, but the space feels unsettlingly empty, furnished only with a few random items. While Marie steps into the restroom, Jason makes a call to a hotel to inquire about the names on his passports. The news hits hard. John Michael Caine had stayed there but tragically died in a car accident 2 weeks prior. An acute sense of danger washes over Jason. He grabs a knife and begins to thoroughly search the apartment. Suddenly, the fragile calm is shattered as Castell ambushes them, crashing through a window. Instinct kicks in for Jason as he engages in a fierce struggle with the intruder. Armed with a knife, Castell lunges at him, but Jason's reflexes are sharper. He dodges the attack and improvises with a pen as a weapon, defending himself with lethal precision. The confrontation culminates with Castell being thrown across the room. Desperate for answers, Jason interrogates the defeated agent about who sent him. In the meantime, Marie rummages through Castell's bag and discovers unsettling photographs of herself and Jason. Panic grips her as she processes this revelation. Seizing on her distraction, Castell makes a desperate move and throws himself over the railing. Stunned and shell-shocked, Marie is left reeling. Jason rushes downstairs to assist her but is met with a horrifying sight. The kind woman who welcomed him home lies lifeless from a gunshot wound. Back at Langley, Conklin receives an urgent call from his logistics technician, Nikki, signaling that the stakes have escalated even further. He learns of the failed mission and the tragic death of his agent, Castell. In a whirlwind of chaos, Jason and Marie find themselves at a train station, where the gravity of their situation becomes painfully clear. Aware of the peril that surrounds him, Jason implores Marie to go to the police and turn herself in, desperate to shield her from the treacherous world he's entangled in. Yet, Marie is already too deeply involved to retreat. There's no turning back now. As the police begin to close in on their location, Jason offers her one final chance to escape, but she resolutely chooses to stand by his side. In a split-second decision, Jason accelerates away, driving recklessly as the police give chase. They are nearly cornered, but with a daring maneuver, he veers into a narrow alleyway. Evading the larger police vehicles while leaving only motorcycles on their tail. Displaying driving skills that would make Vin Diesel envious, Jason expertly shakes off one pursuer after another. An abrupt crash jolts them, but they manage to find sanctuary in an underground parking lot, temporarily eluding the relentless pursuit of the law. Meanwhile, Conklin devises a desperate plan to placate Wombosi by planting a body to impersonate John Michael Caine in a morgue. However, Wombosi is no fool, he sees through the ruse. Under increasing pressure, Conklin delegates the task of handling Wombosi to the professor, his most seasoned operative. Back in hiding, Jason takes drastic measures to alter their appearances, dyeing and cutting Marie's hair. When Marie awakens the next morning, she finds Jason waiting for her with a renewed sense of urgency. His plan is to head to the hotel where his alter ego, John, had previously stayed. But danger looms ever closer. Wombosi, now aware of the CIA's involvement, is poised to expose them. As Wombosi and his bodyguard draw near, the professor strikes decisively. Well-aimed bullets claim Wombosi's life, silencing him before he can unravel the CIA's secrets. Seizing the opportunity presented by Wombosi's demise, Jason sends Marie into the hotel as his proxy, meticulously coaching her on her movements and objectives. Her charm and friendliness work wonders as she effortlessly secures the records they desperately need. Back at Langley, tensions rise as Abbott demands answers from Conklin regarding Wombosi's assassination. Ever the manipulator, Conklin spins a web of lies, shifting the blame onto Jason and claiming he felt compelled to finish what he started. Meanwhile, as Jason gathers crucial information, the police discover their abandoned car in the garage. Nikki at the CIA intercepts this call while hunting for Jason and Marie Titans. They learn that Caine's body has recently been deposited at the morgue. Upon arrival, they attempt to bribe the mortician but discover that the body has already been taken. After a tense confrontation with the morticians, Jason manages to steal the visitation page and uncovers Wombosi's recent visit. As he processes the news of Wombosi's assassination and reads about a botched attempt on Wombosi's yacht, a chilling realization dawns on him. During the escape from that scene, the assailant was shot twice in the back. The pieces fall into place, he was the assassin. As they attempt to return to the hotel, the looming presence of the police becomes evident, prompting a swift decision to abandon their cab and escape through a narrow back alley. Marie takes the lead, guiding Jason to the countryside home of her friend Damon, where he lives with his children. They find sanctuary there for the night, seeking solace amidst the chaos. Meanwhile, at Langley, Conklin feels the pressure mounting from Abbott, compelling him to intensify his search for Jason. He issues orders for his agents to spare no effort in locating them. After several tense hours, the team successfully pinpoints Marie's whereabouts. Without hesitation, Conklin sends the professor to eliminate them. The following morning, as Jason and Marie prepare to leave, an unsettling event occurs. The family dog goes missing. Instinctively sensing danger, Jason urges everyone to take refuge in the basement. Damon, initially caught off guard and frustrated by the sudden urgency, is ultimately swayed by the seriousness of Jason's demeanor and gathers his children to follow suit. As they descend into the basement, panic ensues when Marie discovers that the house phone line has been severed. Jason reassures her, vowing to protect them at all costs. In a moment of quick thinking, Jason shoots an oil tanker, creating a diversion with a powerful explosion. He dashes into the nearby woods, but the professor, positioned as a sniper, spots him. Despite several attempts to take him down, he fails to hit Jason and soon realizes he has become the target himself. The professor attempts to reposition in a field, but Jason cleverly orchestrates another diversion, seizing the opportunity to close in on him. In a decisive moment, he shoots the professor, delivering a mortal wound. As the dying professor reveals that they both work for Treadstone, Jason makes the critical decision to send Marie, Damon, and the children away for their safety while he confronts the escalating threat head-on. He rummages through the professor's belongings and discovers a cell phone. Dialing the last number called, he connects with Conklin and his team. To their shock, it is not the professor's voice they hear, but Jason's. He demands a one-on-one meeting with Conklin in Paris. Upon arriving at the meeting location, Jason scans the area for any signs of agents. Spotting several operatives nearby, he decides to abandon the meeting but not before discreetly planting a tracker on one of their vans. This clever move leads him to Treadstone's safe house in Paris. Realizing that Jason has uncovered their location, Conklin swiftly orders a relocation of their operations. He instructs his agents, including Nikki, to destroy all documents and shred any files related to their activities as they prepare to vacate the premises in haste. As Conklin's agents maintain their vigilant watch, an unexpected cacophony erupts as every car alarm in the block blares to life in unison. Inside the safe house, Conklin and Nikki quickly realize that their communication lines have gone dead, followed by a sudden power outage that plunges them into darkness. Grabbing his firearm, Conklin steels himself and steps outside in search of Jason, but he is met with an ambush from the skilled assassin, who swiftly disarms him with practiced ease. In a tense standoff, Jason confronts Conklin, demanding to know the reasons behind the relentless pursuit of his life. Conklin reluctantly reveals that they were once allies, their partnership forged in the crucible of covert operations, until the Wombosi mission took a disastrous turn. Jason, hailed as the best in his field, had been expected to execute the assignment flawlessly. Yet something went awry, leading to catastrophic failure. Under pressure from Conklin, Jason's memories begin to resurface, vivid recollections of the ill-fated attempt on Wombosi's life. Following Treadstone's orders, he had infiltrated Wombosi's yacht under the guise of John Michael Caine, successfully positioning himself for the kill. However, upon seeing Wombosi's innocent children, he found himself unable to carry out the assassination, which ultimately forced him to escape amidst gunfire. With resolve, Jason declares his resignation from Treadstone and issues a stark warning to Conklin not to pursue him. In a swift motion, he knocks Conklin unconscious and attempts to make his exit, only to be confronted by a group of Conklin's men lying in wait. Reluctantly drawn into a fierce fight for his life, Jason overcomes his attackers and makes a narrow escape from the compromised safehouse. Meanwhile, Conklin emerges from the safehouse only to face Monheim, who executes him without hesitation under Abbott's orders. With Conklin eliminated, Abbott wastes no time in shutting down Treadstone entirely. Later, he reports to an oversight committee, assuring them that Treadstone's operations have been terminated. The conversation shifts to a new initiative codenamed Blackbriar, hinting at a darker path ahead. In the aftermath of these events, Jason successfully tracks down Marie. Their eyes meet, and relief washes over them as they realize they are both safe. In that moment of reunion, they share a heartfelt embrace, rekindling hope amidst the turmoil that surrounds them. Jason awakens in a cold sweat, the remnants of a nightmare clinging to him like a shroud. Marie rushes to his side, immediately sensing his feverish state. Despite his ongoing battle with amnesia and the relentless flashbacks that plague him, Jason struggles to piece together fragmented memories. Marie initially believes his recollections might simply be figments of a dream, but Jason insists that he is recalling details of a mission in which he was involved. Encouraging him to document these memories alongside the others he has uncovered, she hopes to help him make sense of the chaos in his mind. Meanwhile, in Berlin, a CIA team led by Deputy Director Pamela Landy is engaged in a high-stakes transaction, offering $3 million to an undisclosed Russian informant for the Nevsky files, crucial documents related to a $20 million theft that occurred 7 years earlier. As the operatives arrive at the designated location to finalize the deal, a Russian agent named Kirill stealthily infiltrates the building, planting explosives on the power supply. The explosion creates chaos, allowing Kirill to eliminate the operatives and seize both the files and the money before making his escape. Back at CIA headquarters, Pamela and her team are thrown into disarray as they grapple with the fallout of the botched transaction. Kirill, now in possession of the files, meets with a powerful Russian oligarch named Yuri, who had orchestrated the mission. Yuri then assigns Kirill a new target, Jason Bourne. In India, Jason is navigating the bustling streets when he spots Kirill arriving in a vehicle and entering a nearby store. Instinctively aware of the impending danger, he races back to his jeep and speeds off to find Marie at the beach. Upon reaching her, he urgently informs her that their cover has been compromised. Unbeknownst to them, Kirill has spotted their escape and is in hot pursuit. As they drive away, Jason reveals that he has encountered Kirill twice before and senses something deeply unsettling about him. A tense chase ensues through congested traffic and narrow alleyways. In a desperate maneuver, Jason switches seats with Marie, taking control of the vehicle while directing her on how to evade their pursuer.
Cut through the field.
They manage to momentarily shake Kirill by veering into an open field. But he quickly retrieves his rifle and continues the hunt on foot. Once back on the road, Jason insists that Marie return to safety while he confronts Kirill. She pleads with him to abandon the fight, but just then, Kirill finds a vantage point and takes aim, fatally shooting Marie. The impact sends their jeep careening into the water. In a frantic attempt to save her, Jason pulls Marie from the submerged vehicle, only to realize with horror that she is lifeless. Helplessly, he watches as her body drifts away beneath the surface. Kirill stands on a nearby bridge, unaware that Jason has survived and believing his mission is complete. Back in Berlin, the CIA examines the scene of the failed transaction, recovering fingerprints that lead them to a treadstone block on the file. Meanwhile, Jason is left in shock as their jeep is recovered from the river. In his grief, he burns all of Marie's photographs and documents before methodically clearing out their home of cash and weapons, driven by an insatiable thirst for revenge. In a parallel development, Pamela meets with CIA Director Marshall to discuss the fingerprints found at the scene. They agree that access to Treadstone files is crucial for their investigation. With this authorization secured, Pamela retrieves Jason's photo and delves into Treadstone's records, uncovering a connection to Section Chief Ward, setting off a chain of events that will intertwine their fates once again. Pamela arranges an interview with Ward, who initially underestimates her capabilities. However, she soon reveals that the director has granted her full access to sensitive information. This revelation prompts Ward to disclose that Treadstone was a covert assassination program that was shut down 2 years prior. As the conversation deepens, Pamela presses him for more details, leading Ward to admit that Treadstone's failure resulted in him ordering Conklin's assassination to erase the evidence. He believes Jason Bourne is off the grid, but he is taken aback to learn that Bourne was involved in a recent murder. Meanwhile, Jason arrives at an airport in Germany, where his passport triggers an alert in the CIA system, prompting security to detain him for questioning. At the same time, Pamela briefs CIA leadership on the recent failed operation and identifies Jason Bourne as the assassin. She speculates that Conklin had ulterior motives, mistakenly assuming that Jason and Conklin were colluding and that Jason killed the agents to eliminate any traces of their plan. Just then, they receive notification of Jason's passport pinging in their system and strategize to mobilize their assets. As Jason is interrogated by a U.S. official about his presence in Germany, he remains tight-lipped. The official receives a call from a CIA agent warning him of Jason's dangerous reputation, but before he can act, Jason springs into action, neutralizing the men holding him. He cleverly taps into the official's phone and steals a car. All while the CIA tries to reach the official, who is just regaining consciousness. Jason intercepts the call and learns from Pamela that they suspect him of murder and that she will be traveling to Germany. Determined to confront his past, Jason makes his way to Munich, where he experiences a flashback involving a mission alongside Conklin. In Munich, he tracks down Jarda, a former Treadstone operative, and holds him at gunpoint, forcing him to bind himself. When Jason inquires about Conklin and Treadstone, Jarda reveals that the program was dismantled after Conklin's death. Feeling pursued by the CIA and desperate for answers, Jason demands clarity, but Jarda is oblivious to any details. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a ringing phone, which distracts Jason long enough for Jarda to launch an attack. A fierce struggle ensues until Jarda pulls out a knife. However, Jason manages to overpower him. Utilizing a magazine as an improvised weapon, he expertly subdues Jarda before ultimately strangling him with a cord. Aware that agents are en route, Jason ignites the gas line and escapes just before the house explodes. Once in Berlin, Jason tracks down Pamela's hotel address. He discreetly learns her room number and observes her leaving with bodyguards. Seizing the opportunity, he hops into a cab and follows her to her office.
Bourne's objective. Now, I want to break this.
From a rooftop across the street, he sets up a sniper rifle aimed directly at her office window. He calls Pamela to confront her about why she is pursuing him. She mentions the murders in Berlin, but based on his flashbacks, he believes she is referencing an earlier mission. As he watches from his vantage point, he spots Nikki in Pamela's office and decides to request a discreet meeting with her. When Pamela attempts to manipulate the situation, Jason reveals that Nikki is right beside her, causing panic among them both. Ward firmly opposes the meeting with Bourne, labeling him as a significant threat. However, Pamela is resolute in her decision to proceed. Meanwhile, Nikki is positioned at the rendezvous point, surrounded by snipers and security personnel. She receives a call instructing her to board a passing tram, where Jason discreetly keeps watch. A protest unfolds nearby, obstructing the CIA's line of sight, prompting them to send operatives to retrieve Nikki. In a twist of fate, Jason intervenes and escapes with her. Once underground at a train station, Jason demands answers about Pamela's intent to eliminate him. He learns of a hit in Berlin but insists he wasn't present during that incident, suspecting the CIA's involvement in Marie's death. Unbeknownst to them, Pamela and her team are eavesdropping on their conversation but lose the connection when Jason takes Nikki into a restroom for privacy. During their discussion, Jason uncovers details about the files Pamela sought to acquire, realizing they relate to a mission in Berlin that haunts his memory. However, Nikki clarifies that he had never operated in Berlin before. Back at the CIA office in Berlin, Ward continues to advocate for Bourne's assassination, while Pamela prioritizes uncovering the truth over simply eliminating a target. Jason finds refuge in a cafe where he begins to research the name Nevsky, discovering that he was a Russian politician found dead in his hotel room. Simultaneously, Conklin's former assistant uncovers discrepancies regarding Bourne's alleged involvement in the agent's death and shares his findings with Ward. In a shocking turn, Ward kills the assistant before he can inform Pamela. Determined to piece together his fragmented memories, Jason visits the hotel where Nevsky was murdered. As he breaks into the room, he is unaware that hotel staff have alerted the authorities, prompting the CIA and police to close in on him. Inside the room, memories flood back. He recalls killing Nevsky on Conklin's orders and framing Nevsky's wife for the crime. Realizing the police are on his trail, Jason escapes via a fire escape just as Pamela and her team arrive at the hotel. A chase ensues through the streets as two officers spot him. Jason evades capture by darting into a train station and narrowly escaping onto a passing barge. The police order the vessel to stop, but Jason cleverly hides beneath a bridge before making his way back to the train for his final escape. Back at his hotel, Ward contacts Yuri, expressing urgency in eliminating Bourne now that Pamela is on their trail. Just then, Jason appears behind him, having overheard everything. Ward admits to stealing funds, orchestrating Kirill's retrieval of the files, framing Bourne, and plotting his assassination. Furious over Marie's murder, an act that occurred after he had distanced himself from their operations, Jason refuses Ward's request to kill him, stating that Marie wouldn't want that. Meanwhile, Pamela heads to confront Ward about her suspicions. Before she arrives, he poisons himself and prepares to hold her at gunpoint upon her entry. When she questions him about Danny's death, she learns he was merely collateral damage before Ward takes his own life with a gunshot to the head. Jason gathers his documents and boards a train bound for Moscow. Meanwhile, Pamela returns to her office, where she discovers a tape containing the conversation between Ward and Yuri. Just as her team informs her of a sighting of Jason boarding a train to Moscow, she quickly alerts the Russian police. Upon arriving in Moscow, Jason takes a cab to the address of Nevsky's daughter, only to find that she has moved. As the cab driver receives a call from a colleague about the police tracking Jason, he abruptly speeds away. Realizing the danger, Jason makes a hasty escape on foot. However, Kirill, who has been tipped off about Jason's arrival, spots him as he walks away. In a tense confrontation, Kirill shoots Jason in the shoulder, but before he can finish the job, the police arrive and arrest Kirill, who reveals himself to be a Russian federal agent. Wounded but determined, Jason ducks into a nearby store to grab a bottle of vodka before attempting to hail a cab. When the police show up and try to apprehend him, he effortlessly knocks them out and commandeers the cab. Kirill, relentless in his pursuit, steals a jeep to chase after him. With both law enforcement and Kirill hot on his trail, Jason skillfully evades capture until federal agents take over the chase. In a heart-pounding sequence, Kirill manages to clip Jason's cab, but Jason regains control and barrels onto a busy highway, pushing the battered vehicle to its limits despite the chaos. As they enter a tunnel, Kirill attempts to run him off the road while firing shots at him. In a moment of desperation, Jason shoots out one of Kirill's tires, forcing him into a divider. Emerging from his cab with gun drawn, Jason confronts Kirill but ultimately decides against executing him, recognizing that Kirill is already near death. Meanwhile, Yuri and his men are arrested as Pamela watches from a distance, feeling a mix of relief and concern. In an emotionally charged moment, Jason breaks into Neski's daughter's apartment, startling her. He reassures her that he means no harm and reveals his identity as the one responsible for her parents' deaths, offering an apology before leaving her in tears. Later in New York City, Bourne contacts Landy. Grateful for the tape she provided, she reveals his original name, David Webb, along with his date and place of birth, inviting him to meet her. As Jason observes her from a nearby building, he notes that she looks tired and advises her to get some rest before vanishing back into the bustling cityscape. A few days ago, Jason Bourne found himself on the run in Moscow, just another Tuesday in his tumultuous life. Injured and desperate, he evades the police as they chase him into a bustling train station, scouring the train cars for any sign of him. Seizing a moment of opportunity, Bourne leaps from the train just as it begins to move, but the police are hot on his trail. Fortunately, he manages to slip into a nearby pharmacy, where he starts tending to his wounds. As he works, unsettling flashbacks flood his mind, revealing a past where he was subjected to a shadowy program, his face obscured by a bag. Just then, the police burst into the pharmacy. In a swift motion, Bourne disarms the first officer and aims the weapon at the second before calmly walking out. Meanwhile, at CIA headquarters, Director Ezra Kramer convenes an urgent meeting with Pamela and other key personnel. He listens intently to a recorded conversation involving Abbott, horrified by the entrenched corruption within the agency. Despite this revelation, Kramer views Bourne as a significant threat, especially given his probing around CIA facilities in search of something elusive. He insists that Bourne must be found and ominously states, "My number one rule is to hope for the best but plan for the worst." In New York, journalist Simon Ross meets with a source about a covert project known as Blackbriar. Sensing something deeply amiss, he strives to connect the dots. Meanwhile, Jason sits alone until Martin Kreutz, Marie's brother, arrives at his home. With a heavy heart, Jason delivers the tragic news of Marie's death and confesses to killing her attacker. At the airport, Simon places a call to a colleague, revealing that his informant possesses extensive knowledge about Jason Bourne and the Blackbriar program. Unsurprisingly, this information alarms the authorities. The call is quickly flagged and transmitted through various CIA channels until it reaches Deputy Director Noah Vossen. Rallying his team, Vossen declares this as a Level 4 NSA operation and demands to identify the whistleblower within their ranks. He insists on being kept informed of Simon Ross's every move before he even makes them. As fate would have it, Simon catches Bourne's attention when he sees both their names in a newspaper article. Recognizing that this journalist might hold crucial information, Jason is determined to uncover the source of these leaks. Unbeknownst to Simon, the CIA is closely monitoring his every action as he arrives at work. When a colleague informs him that someone wishes to speak with him on the phone, Simon answers only to find Jason on the line. This conversation evades CIA surveillance since it's not happening on Simon's phone. Seizing the moment, Jason arranges to meet Simon at the station in half an hour. As Simon exits his building and discusses directions with his cab driver, the CIA intercepts this exchange and decides to deploy an asset, an agent from the Blackbriar program. Upon reaching the station and heading toward the designated platform, Simon is unaware of both Jason's watchful eye and the surveillance team surrounding him. Bourne walks past Simon casually, slipping a phone into his pocket. He then dials that phone number, alerting Simon to the looming surveillance and instructing him to make his way to the nearby bus station just 50 meters away. As the CIA team realizes they cannot monitor the phone conversation, panic begins to set in. Jason, ever the strategist, guides Simon to stand beside a hooded man, instructing him to make a break for a concealed staircase as soon as the bus arrives. When the bus pulls up, chaos ensues as CIA agents rush forward, but one agent spots Simon and gives chase. This agent is quickly subdued by Jason, who intervenes with precision. Meanwhile, the hooded man is suddenly incapacitated and injected with an unknown substance, heightening the tension of the moment. Jason then directs Simon toward the city's busiest terminal. As Noah rallies his forces to track down Simon, their asset, Pause, arrives on the scene. In a brief exchange, Simon reveals to Bourne that Blackbriar is essentially an upgraded version of Treadstone and that all their troubles trace back to Jason. Although Simon hesitates to reveal his source, urgency compels them to keep moving. Upon reaching the terminal, the CIA accesses surveillance footage in their frantic search for Simon, but Jason expertly guides him through the crowd to avoid detection. However, panic strikes when Simon inadvertently crosses paths with a garbage man and instinctively bolts, drawing immediate attention from the CIA. As agents close in, Jason stealthily takes them down one by one, advising Simon to seek refuge in a nearby store. Just in time, he catches up with Simon and neutralizes an assailant before 4 more men jump in to assist. In a stunning display of skill, Jason dispatches them all without sustaining a scratch, leaving Simon dumbfounded. Their brief moment of relief is shattered when a surveillance camera captures their presence together. Noah's face pales as he realizes that Jason Bourne is aiding Simon, escalating the urgency of their situation. Meanwhile, Pause maneuvers into position, setting up his sniper vantage point overlooking the terminal. With facial recognition confirming their identities, the CIA disables the terminal cameras to provide Pause with a clear shot. Despite Jason's stern warning to stay put, Simon impulsively dashes away, resulting in a gunshot that strikes him in the head. Reacting instinctively, Jason tears papers from Simon's jacket and bolts away, moving too swiftly for Pause to get a clean shot. Unfazed by danger, Bourne decides to pursue the sniper but just misses him. They lock eyes in a fleeting moment of mutual recognition before Pause escapes. Later, Jason retreats to an internet cafe, poring over his notes where 2 phrases stand out: Blackbriar and it all started with Jason Bourne. Intrigued by names scribbled in Simon's notes, he uncovers connections to an investment banking group and notes the address for further investigation. Meanwhile, Simon's informant is thrown into chaos upon learning of the reporter's death. Frantically gathering top-secret files, including critical documents on Blackbriar, he drives off into the night. Back at CIA headquarters, Ezra is less than pleased as higher-ups compel him to involve Pamela Landy in the escalating crisis. Reluctantly, he informs her of the situation, and she agrees to join forces. Upon arriving at the office, Pamela delivers a stern lecture to the team, asserting that capturing Bourne will be their most formidable challenge yet. Meanwhile, Jason arrives at the headquarters of the investment banking group, but there's an unsettling silence. No one responds to his presence. As the wail of police sirens grows louder, he quickly vacates the scene. Back at CIA headquarters, Pamela is in her element, employing an unconventional approach to uncover the source of the leak within their agency. Her criteria are precise: anyone with clearance whose phone was turned off 3 hours before the train station incident. This investigation yields 3 names, and when combined with evidence discovered at Simon's residence, they pinpoint their leak as Neil Daniels, who operates out of Italy, a location that perfectly aligns with Simon's flight path. Unbeknownst to them, Jason is already 1 step ahead, having infiltrated the building. Meanwhile, the CIA agents are just 3 minutes away, and Jason is engulfed in intense flashbacks. In one vivid memory, a man interrogates him about his willingness to join the program. When Jason declines, he is subjected to brutal torture. Snapping back to reality, he spots the approaching CIA team and prepares himself for an imminent confrontation. As the agents enter the building and survey the chaos, they cautiously advance toward the final door.
The safe is empty.
Without warning, Jason bursts forth, neutralizing 2 intruders with remarkable speed and precision. Suddenly, Nikki appears out of nowhere, and Jason instinctively aims his gun at her. The tension hangs thick in the air until a ringing phone shatters the silence. Nikki answers it. It's Noah on the line. She informs him that 2 agents are down but deceitfully claims to be the only one present. Despite her misdirection, Noah suspects Jason's involvement and reassures her that backup will arrive within the hour, though they are actually just 3 minutes away. Ending the call, Nikki tells Jason that her car is parked in the back and reveals she knows Daniel's location. Thinking quickly, Jason dials local police, reports armed men in the area, and fires a few shots into the air for effect. As they make their escape,
Where you parked?
They're coming.
Keep moving.
The CIA team bursts in only to be confronted by local police who mistakenly draw their weapons on them, believing they are the criminals. This moment of confusion grants Jason the perfect opportunity to slip away unnoticed. Following this chaotic turn of events, Pamela convenes with Noah to discuss Operation Blackbriar. Noah elaborates that Daniels oversees all operations in southern Europe and North Africa, granting him access to critical details, names, intelligence, and other classified information. Meanwhile, in a nearby cafeteria, Jason and Nikki engage in a tense conversation. Jason points to a photograph and asks about the man standing next to Daniels. Nikki claims ignorance about him, but Jason recognizes the figure from his early days in the program. In response to his inquiry, Nikki reveals a chilling truth: the program was designed to psychologically dismantle soldiers before implementing behavior modifications. Shockingly, Jason learns that he was the very first subject to undergo this extreme transformation. Back at CIA headquarters, they have successfully tracked down Daniels and everyone gears up for action as they instruct an operative named Desh to eliminate him. Nikki attempts to access location data but finds herself blocked. She can only retrieve an image and the name of the operative. Their plan is to follow him to Daniels, and they manage to spot him just in time. Jason begins to shadow Desh through the bustling city streets, an intense focus driving his every move. Meanwhile, at CIA headquarters, a breach alert regarding Nikki prompts Noah to issue a chilling directive to Desh: eliminate both Nikki and Jason after he handles Daniels. Pamela vehemently opposes this course of action, but Noah dismisses her concerns, leading her to exit the room in frustration. As Jason continues to follow Desh, he observes him leaving a suspicious bag next to a parked car. Just as Daniels' vehicle approaches, Jason attempts to intercept it, only to realize too late that the bike left behind by Desh is rigged with explosives. The ensuing blast kills Daniels and sends Jason into unconsciousness. When Jason finally regains consciousness, he catches a glimpse of Desh speeding away and instinctively begins his pursuit. He commandeers a motorbike, expertly weaving through the chaos of police vehicles in hot pursuit. His maneuvers are so daring and skillful that they would leave even the most seasoned action stars in awe. Despite the overwhelming police presence, none manage to close in on him. In the midst of this chaos, Desh spots Nikki, who cleverly navigates through a dense crowd to buy herself time before breaking into a sprint. From a distance, Jason spots Desh and takes to the rooftops in pursuit. Aware of Nikki's perilous situation, she seeks refuge in a nearby building, striving to remain undetected. Meanwhile, Jason continues his relentless chase across rooftops, crashing through apartments in his determination to keep up. As Nikki finds herself cornered by Desh, Jason bursts through a window, igniting an intense confrontation between the two operatives. This clash is not just a fight, it's a battle between two highly trained individuals, one from Treadstone and the other from Blackbriar. The struggle lasts several minutes, with both fighters evenly matched and employing advanced combat techniques. Ultimately, Jason gains the upper hand, executing moves that seem straight out of a masterclass taught by Khabib himself. In a clever ruse, Jason and Nikki manage to convince Noah that they have been killed by Desh. However, Noah remains skeptical and insists on seeing their bodies for confirmation. Meanwhile, Ezra has a candid discussion with Noah, stressing that he won't take the fall if things go awry, hence why Pamela has been brought into the fold. Amidst all this tension, Jason confides in Nikki about his haunting memories of those he has killed, revealing a profound remorse that words cannot fully express. Simultaneously, Pamela delves into the Treadstone files and uncovers details about Jason's past assassinations, as well as the name of the operation's chief medical officer, Albert Hirsch. After their conversation, Jason leaves Nikki at a station and heads to the morgue to examine Daniel's personal effects. There, he discovers an address linked to a CIA base and resolves to investigate further. Back at CIA headquarters, unsettling news reaches Noah: Jason is alive. Concurrently, one of Pamela's agents uncovers evidence of Jason's recent passport activity. Choosing to keep this information under wraps, Pamela reveals that she has her own plans in motion. In New York City, Bourne arrives and takes a cab to position himself in a building directly across from the CIA headquarters. Through his binoculars, he observes Pamela and Noah in discussion and notices Noah discreetly stashing files in a safe. With audacity and precision, Bourne calls Pamela directly. She expresses gratitude for the recording he previously provided and reveals his true name and date of birth. Unbeknownst to them, Noah and his team are monitoring Pamela's phone call and quickly realize that something is amiss. As Pamela engages in conversation with Bourne, he observes the fatigue etched on her face and tells her to go and rest, a sight that sends Noah into a state of alarm. He rushes into the operations room, urgently announcing that Bourne is within a 1,000-yard radius of their location, prompting an immediate national emergency response. Stepping outside, Pamela receives a message detailing a specific location, but unbeknownst to her, it is intercepted by Noah's team. The operative Paz is instructed to arm himself and prepare for imminent action. As Noah and his team mobilize, he issues a directive for anyone not monitoring Pamela to gather at the specified location. Meanwhile, Bourne makes a bold entrance into CIA headquarters. He calls Noah, taunting him with the revelation of his exact location. In a swift motion, he cracks open the safe and retrieves classified files. He scans the sensitive information but, aware of the ticking clock, begins his escape just as agents rush back to their vehicles. When Noseman confirms that his office has been breached and the safe compromised, panic overtakes Noah. Pamela enters a car with her operative, providing him with directions as Bourne strolls casually down the street until he is spotted by agents. With orders to shoot on sight, Bourne takes off running, ultimately reaching a rooftop car park. There, he quickly commandeers a vehicle, colliding with others to create cover against pursuing agents. In a daring move, he reverses off the building, landing in an adjacent parking structure. As he descends to a lower level, he encounters Paz, who is waiting for a confrontation. A fierce shootout erupts, and Bourne seizes a police vehicle, launching it into the bustling street below. Meanwhile, an operative uncovers a discrepancy in the date of birth Pamela provided Jason, raising suspicions of coded information. When alerted, Noah pieces together the hidden clue that leads to the location of their training facility and orders all ground units to track his vehicle. With police sirens blaring from his stolen vehicle, Bourne navigates the city streets with relentless determination, swiftly neutralizing his pursuers in a display of expert maneuvering. Using his commandeered police car as a bulldozer, he clears a path through enemy vehicles. However, Paz remains tenaciously on his tail, presenting a formidable challenge. Attempting to replicate Jason's previous encounter with Kirill, Paz employs a similar tactic that backfires catastrophically, resulting in both cars flipping and crashing. Emerging from the wreckage with his gun trained on Paz, Jason ultimately chooses mercy over vengeance. In the midst of this chaos, Noah frantically contacts Albert, urging him to evacuate the facility. Albert resolutely refuses, insisting he will hold off Bourne until Noah can arrive. As Bourne approaches the facility, memories flood back to him, echoes of a past he cannot escape. Outside, Bourne encounters Pamela, entrusting her with a bag brimming with sensitive files, confident in her unwavering sense of justice. She implores him to join her, but he shakes his head, turning toward the building just as a convoy of CIA cars screeches to a halt outside, prompting Pamela to retreat inside in haste. She ducks into an office, making a critical call just as Noah and his agents storm the building. Bourne activates the emergency lock on the elevator, sealing off his escape route and forcing the agents to scramble down the stairs in a frantic rush. Meanwhile, Pamela swiftly sends the classified documents via fax. Noah finds Pamela just as the last page of the documents finishes transmitting. He fixes her with a piercing gaze, and she coolly advises him to seek a good lawyer. As Bourne strides down a corridor, vivid flashbacks of the place flood his mind. Suddenly, Albert emerges from the shadows. Seething with anger, Bourne demands to know why he was chosen for this mission. To his astonishment, Albert reveals that Bourne had volunteered. He hands Bourne a set of dog tags inscribed with his name, triggering a torrent of memories, his acceptance of a new identity and his commitment to do whatever was necessary to protect American lives. For a fleeting moment, Albert's words seem to resonate with Bourne. He stands resolute and executes a masked man lurking in the corner, marking the moment he fully embraces his identity as Jason Bourne. As he lowers his weapon, he hears footsteps approaching and instinctively leaps out the window. He races through the stairwell with Paz hot on his heels, ultimately finding himself cornered on the rooftop. Paz raises his gun at Bourne but then unexpectedly questions why Bourne hasn't shot him. Bourne retorts, challenging Paz to consider whether he even understands why he was meant to kill him. Just as CIA agents, including Noah, arrive on the scene, Bourne makes a daring leap off the building, a bullet grazing him as he plunges into the water below. The narrative shifts to a conference where senators are presented with the contents of the documents by Pamela. Nikki watches a news broadcast revealing that Ezra Kramer is under criminal investigation while Dr. Albert and Deputy Director Noah Vossen are arrested. Despite 3 days of searching, there's no trace of Jason Bourne. A faint smile crosses Nikki's lips as we see Jason Bourne swimming away, very much alive and free. In a world of shadows and secrets, we meet Aaron Cross, a new covert operative of Operation Outcome. Alone in the harsh Alaskan wilderness, he embarks on a grueling training mission that tests his limits. Battling freezing temperatures and icy waters, he faces a pack of wolves, scales treacherous mountains, and navigates through challenging terrain. As a genetically enhanced super spy, Cross relies on two crucial pills, green ones that amplify his physical prowess and blue ones that sharpen his mental acuity. As Cross pushes through these trials, a crisis looms over Operation Outcome. The links between the clandestine Treadstone program, its upgraded counterpart Blackbriar, and the infamous agent Jason Bourne are on the brink of exposure, thanks to British investigative journalist Simon Ross. This impending revelation occurs just before Ezra Kramer finds himself under scrutiny. Concerned about the potential fallout, Kramer confides in retired U.S. Navy Admiral Mark Turso. Meanwhile, in Virginia, retired Air Force Colonel Eric Byer, an insider who once oversaw the covert programs, is alerted to the brewing storm. At the National Research Assay Group, Byer, who led the beta initiative known as Operation Outcome, collaborates with a team to thwart an information leak threatening the integrity of four primary covert operations: Treadstone, Blackbriar, Outcome, and Larks. The situation escalates dramatically when Simon Ross is assassinated at London's Waterloo Station. Unfazed by the chaos, Byer remains composed as the narrative shifts to a private research facility called Steris and Morlanda. Here, a team of biochemist virologists works under Byer's guidance to enhance the capabilities of Outcome agents through genetic engineering and the use of shums. Among them is Dr. Marta Shearing, a civilian biochemist who collaborates with her colleague Dr. Donald Fowett. On site for a thorough physical evaluation is Outcome Agent 6. While navigating these complex dynamics, Byer uncovers a potentially damaging video online that threatens to unravel the entire Outcome program. The footage hints at a connection between Dr. Albert Hirsch, medical director of Treadstone, and Dr. Dan Hilkett, his counterpart at Outcome. Alarmed by this discovery, Byer voices his concerns to Terrence Ward, Senior Vice President for Candid Precision Metrics. He fears that an impending FBI investigation and scrutiny from the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence could expose their covert operations. Determined to protect their secrets, Byer resolves to eliminate all traces of the Outcome program, including its 9 active agents. Back in Alaska, Aaron Cross triumphs over the formidable landscape and arrives at a remote cabin 2 days ahead of schedule, breaking the previous record set by its former occupant. It is revealed that Outcome Agent 3 had been sent there as punishment for a romantic entanglement. Meanwhile, in New York City, Noah Vossen raises alarms about an imminent national security threat classified as Priority Level 5. In a tense phone call, CIA agent Ray Wills informs Byer that Jason Bourne has once again evaded death and may be hiding in New York City. The stage is set for a confrontation that could alter the fate of all involved. In response to the unfolding crisis, Colonel Eric Byer made a chilling decision. He would erase all evidence of Operation Outcome. To achieve this, he deceitfully persuaded the agents to ingest yellow pills, which were, in fact, a lethal poison. The first victim of this insidious plot was Outcome Agent 4, soon followed by Outcome Agent 1 in Karachi, Pakistan. The initial casualty was Outcome Agent 6, who tragically succumbed shortly after leaving the laboratory, with Outcome 1 and Outcome 4 following in quick succession. The news of Outcome's dismantling reached Lieutenant General Don Paulson, who was visibly shaken. Years of dedication and service seemed poised to unravel before his eyes. Shortly thereafter, a remote-controlled Predator drone launched from Carson, Virginia, targeted the Alaskan cabin where Outcome Agent 3 was stationed, striking it with a missile and eliminating him. Yet, Aaron Cross managed to evade death. He skillfully brought down the drone with his sniper rifle. In a desperate move, he surgically removed a tracking device embedded in his body and cleverly implanted it in a wild wolf that had been trapped nearby, misleading a second drone and faking his own demise. A flashback revealed a past connection between Byer and Cross in Somalia. Byer understood that Cross, known for his unwavering commitment to his role, would be difficult to eliminate. He viewed their roles as sin-eaters, individuals who bore the moral burdens and committed questionable acts to preserve the sanctity of the organization as a whole, a necessary evil for the greater good. Meanwhile, Byer intensified his efforts to eradicate any remaining traces of Outcome, including its affiliated research facility, Steris and Morlanda Laboratories. In a twisted turn of events, Dr. Donald Fowhite, a scientist at the lab, fell victim to chemical manipulation that drove him into a violent frenzy, leading him to slaughter several of his colleagues. Cornered by law enforcement, he chose to take his own life. Dr. Marta Shearing emerged as the sole survivor of the horrific lab massacre. Simultaneously, Cross managed to steal an airplane and escape Alaska, later reappearing in a parking garage in Chicago. There, he accessed hidden identity paraphernalia, wallets, passports, license plates, preparing for the next phase of his eastern-bound flight. After the lab attack, as Dr. Shearing was preparing to leave town to visit her sister, a group of 4 agents arrived at her secluded home in the woods to interrogate her. Among them was clinical psychologist Dr. Connie Dowd. Without permission, Special Agent Larry Hooper began rummaging through her belongings while Dr. Dowd questioned Shearing about the traumatic shooting incident. Growing increasingly suspicious and combative, Shearing demanded they check Dr. Fowhite's blood work to understand why he had gone psychotic instead of grilling her or searching her home. Suddenly, the agents turned hostile and attempted to execute her when Cross appeared out of nowhere, intervening just in time to rescue her. As backup agents opened fire, Cross dashed into the basement, effortlessly dispatching his pursuer who followed him inside. He then scaled the building and took out Dr. Dowd with a single shot. After ensuring Dr. Shearing was safe, she recognized him amid the chaos. With one last assailant remaining, Cross shot through a door, killing the man instantly. Now fugitives on the run, Shearing assumed the alias June Monroe from Bethesda, Maryland, while Cross adopted the name James as they prepared for their uncertain future together. In a moment of shock, Cross learned that Dr. Marta Shearing, who had monitored his every move for the past 4 years, knew him only by his code name, Outcome Number 5. He informed her of the termination of the Outcome program, which had led to the elimination of everyone associated with it. Cross believed that he needed the medication from the program to maintain his enhanced abilities. In response, Shearing revealed that the live virus required to produce this medication was stored in a remote laboratory in the South Pacific, specifically in Manila. Although Cross had been successfully weaned off the green pills, making his physical enhancements permanent, he still needed to be weaned off the blue pills, which were responsible for enhancing his cognitive functions. Dr. Shearing explained that his treatment involved minor modifications to 2 of his chromosomes, a groundbreaking achievement in genomic targeting that resulted in increased physical prowess and improved cognitive abilities. The discovery of dead intruders in Dr. Shearing's home, including members of Bayer's D-Track team, sent to eliminate her, triggered an alert within the CIA about her escape, igniting an intense manhunt. In the midst of this chaos, Cross revealed his true identity to Dr. Shearing. He was originally Kenneth James Kitsom from Reno, Nevada. As a former private first class, Kitsom had been declared a casualty of Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003 after suffering severe injuries from a makeshift bomb. He expressed his deep-seated fear that losing his enhanced capabilities would render him weak and incapable of defending himself. Determined to travel to Manila, Cross assumed the identity of Dr. Carl Brundage, a lab official. Meanwhile, news of Dr. Albert Hirsch's unexpected death from a heart attack circulated just before he was set to testify before a Senate Intelligence Committee investigating connections between the controversial CIA program Treadstone and the fugitive Jason Bourne. Concurrently, Dr. Shearing was portrayed as a troubled figure in a USA Today article that delved into the investigation surrounding the lab shooting that had left 6 dead. Upon arriving in Manila after a non-stop flight from New York, the 2 fugitives gained access to the Starrison-Morlanta lab. There, Dr. Shearing injected Cross with the live virus meant to stabilize his enhancements. However, unbeknownst to them, the CIA was closing in, having discovered that Outcome Agent 5 was seeking medication under the alias Dr. Carl Brundage. Just as Shearing completed the injection, 3 security officers entered, leading to a swift altercation in which Cross incapacitated them all with remarkable ease. In their frantic escape before a lab lockdown could take effect, they blended into a crowd of workers, managing also to knock out security manager Mackey and steal his valuable gold watch. After receiving the viral shot, Cross and Shearing laid low in a rundown flop house. As Cross battled sweats and fatigue, he finally overcame his dependency on the blue pill medication. The following day, local police were alerted about the 2 fugitives. Upon waking, Cross discovered that Dr. Shearing had gone out to buy medicine. On her way back, she noticed their hideout was about to be raided and screamed, a warning that reached Cross just in time. They both fled just as the CIA initiated a pursuit led by a deadly, chemically brainwashed Asian super soldier known as Larks-03, who had been flown in from Bangkok. In a desperate bid to reunite with Dr. Shearing, Cross traversed rooftops until he finally located her in an alley. There, he swiftly dispatched 2 policemen who threatened their escape, determined to protect her at all costs. As Cross and Shearing navigated the bustling streets of Manila, their presence did not go unnoticed. The formidable assassin, hot on their trail, soon alerted a swarm of police cars that converged on their location. Realizing the gravity of their situation, Cross sprang into action. With a daring leap, he and Shearing jumped onto a passing bus, narrowly escaping the clutches of their pursuers. The relentless chase continued as they commandeered a motorbike, weaving skillfully through the chaotic traffic while the assassin and the police closed in behind them. In a desperate attempt to thwart their escape, the hitman crashed a bus into their path, but his plan backfired spectacularly, resulting in him losing control of his vehicle. Undeterred, he quickly switched to a motorbike of his own, rejoining the pursuit. Shearing kicked the assailant, sending him crashing into a concrete pillar. However, the maneuver also caused them to lose control of their bike. Despite the chaos, they managed to navigate the harrowing chase unscathed, narrowly avoiding disaster at every turn. Meanwhile, back at the CIA base, Bayer stood before a mirror that bore the ominous words "No More," scrawled in a hurried hand from the very location where Cross had spent the night. In another part of the city, Noah Vossen found himself in a tense hearing, testifying about the mishandling of the Treadstone program and the subsequent establishment of Blackbriar to deal with rogue operatives. He expressed his ignorance regarding Pamela Landy's motivations for aiding Jason Bourne, an enemy of the United States, and for granting unsanctioned access to sensitive documents. Nevertheless, he insisted that any potential damage had been contained before it could escalate further. Outside the hearing, reporters swarmed around Landy, speculating about her possible indictment as she silently maneuvered through the throng toward her car. Meanwhile, Cross and Dr. Shearing managed to escape Manila by trading a stolen gold Rolex watch for passage on a local fisherman's boat. As they set sail into an uncertain future, excitement coursed through them. They were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. "All right, folks, strap in," Cross thought, as they ventured into the unknown. 10 years have passed, and we find ourselves at the finale of our story, beginning with a flashback that transports us to the moment David Webb is inducted into the enigmatic world of Treadstone. It is here that Webb undergoes a transformation, meticulously shaped and honed into the ultimate weapon known as Jason Bourne. Fast forward to the aftermath of the Blackbriar scandal, and where do we find our protagonist? In sunny Greece, near the Greek-Albanian border, he is living under the radar. Yet, Jason feels restless and, in a show of bravado, engages in one-punch knockouts. While it may not seem like a fair fight, it's clear that Bourne has not lost his edge. Meanwhile, in the icy landscape of Iceland, Nikki Parsons, a brilliant hacker, finds herself amidst a group of fellow tech-savvy rebels. What's on her agenda? Just a casual breach into the CIA's central servers. Back at CIA headquarters in Langley, Heather Lee, the head of cyber operations, detects this intrusion and immediately raises the alarm. With remarkable composure, she sets about untangling the digital chaos left in Nikki's wake. As Nikki delves deeper into the CIA's secrets, she stumbles upon information regarding the Treadstone project. What she uncovers is groundbreaking intelligence about Bourne and his father, Richard Webb. The CIA quickly regains control over their compromised facility, deploying malware to shut down access. Nikki gathers her belongings, destroys any evidence of her cyber infiltration, and thus, the stakes begin to rise. At CIA headquarters, Director Robert Dewey receives an urgent call from Craig Jeffers concerning the significant hack. At the same time, Aaron Kalor, an internet entrepreneur and CEO of Deep Dream, who shares a clandestine connection with Dewey, requests a meeting. Heather Lee impressively pieces together scant information and realizes that the hack was orchestrated by Nikki Parsons and directly involves Jason Bourne. Recognizing the potential threat Bourne poses to their latest initiative, Iron Hand, Dewey grants Heather full authority over the operation. He also reaches out to a vengeful former Blackbriar operative known only as the Asset. Viewing Bourne as a traitor, the Asset accepts the new mission and promptly wraps up his current assignment. Back in Greece, Bourne finds himself in another brawl, but this time he is losing ground. However, upon spotting Nikki in the crowd, he swiftly ends the fight. The scene shifts to Nikki disembarking from a bus amidst a massive riot. The CIA catches wind of her location and dispatches 2 teams while confirming that the asset has also arrived in Greece. Finally reunited with Jason, Nikki reveals her intention to expose the CIA and its covert operations. As they walk and talk, she discloses that his father was directly involved in these machinations and that they have been closely monitoring Jason for reasons unknown to him. Reluctant to re-enter the fray after 8 years of seclusion, Jason's resolve falters when he spots a CIA operative nearby. He realizes it's too late to retreat. He instructs Nikki to meet him at the statue of Athena before making his escape as the CIA identifies him and their displeasure becomes palpable. The tension in the city escalated as 2 members of Alpha Team pursued Jason, only to find themselves ensnared in a swift and cunning trap. The chaos of the riots intensified, mirroring the rising blood pressure of Dewey, who watched the unfolding events with growing concern. Meanwhile, Bravo Team was closing in on Nikki when Bourne seized a police motorcycle, racing through the bustling streets. Cornered and desperate, Nikki felt the walls closing in around her, but Bourne intervened just in time. He fired a smoke grenade into Bravo Team's vehicle, causing it to crash spectacularly. Without hesitation, Nikki leapt onto the bike behind Bourne, and together they sped away, pursued relentlessly by the asset. The CIA observed the scene with bated breath as Bourne demonstrated remarkable skill on the motorcycle. In a dramatic turn, the asset lost control of his car, crashing it as Bourne adeptly maneuvered his bike up a flight of stairs. Using satellite imagery from the CIA, the asset positioned himself at the only exit from the streets, rifle poised and ready. As Heather initiated a tense 15-second countdown, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. When the countdown concluded, a bullet from the asset's rifle struck Nikki, sending Bourne into a chaotic swerve that resulted in a crash. Though he managed to crawl away, Bourne instinctively shielded Nikki with his body. Tragically, the asset fired again, delivering a fatal shot. In her final moments, Nikki tossed Bourne a key, igniting within him a fierce thirst for revenge. With Nikki's death weighing heavily on his heart, Bourne used the key she had given him to access a locker at a train station. Inside, he discovered a safe box filled with classified documents. As troubling memories flooded back to him, he noticed coordinates that pointed to a location in Berlin. Meanwhile, at a convention for a program called Deep Dream, its founder, Aaron Kalor, stood among the main speakers. Although marketed as a social media platform promising ultimate privacy, Kalor had secretly been collaborating with Dewey and the CIA. Dewey's intentions to exploit Deep Dream for surveillance through an initiative known as Iron Hand left Kalor feeling deeply unsettled. Upon arriving in Berlin, Bourne hailed a cab to the coordinates he had uncovered. There, he sought out an old contact named Christian Dessau and persuaded him to decrypt the drive from the safe box. Unbeknownst to them, hidden malware on the drive alerted Heather at the CIA to Bourne's whereabouts. She swiftly informed Dewey, prompting a Berlin team to mobilize. As Bourne examined the files on the decrypted drive, he stumbled upon information revealing that his father had played a role in establishing Treadstone and discovered unsettling recruitment requirements. Just then, Heather attempted to remotely delete the files. In that moment of crisis, Bourne's memory surged back. He recalled the last day he saw his father, who had confessed to making a grave mistake and professed his love before departing. Moments later, an explosion shattered the air. Bourne rushed outside to find his father's car engulfed in flames and his father lifeless within. Returning to the laptop with urgency, Bourne quickly typed the name Malcolm Smith before the screen abruptly went dark. The CIA's phone rang. Heather was on the line first, offering her assistance. Dewey soon took over, trying to stall Bourne as Heather intervened once more, discreetly warning him about the approaching team. Armed with this vital information, Bourne slipped away unnoticed. Later on, Heather successfully convinced her superiors to allow her a face-to-face meeting with Bourne, hoping to persuade him to return to the program that had so drastically altered their lives. Heather devised a plan to leverage Bourne's newly acquired knowledge, intending to draw him back into the fold. Meanwhile, Aaron and his tech team engaged in a critical discussion about the removal of certain files that granted the CIA access to their servers. However, their plans were complicated by an audit imposed by the Justice Department, a clear maneuver orchestrated by Dewey. In a calculated response, Aaron instructed his right-hand man to compile all records of his meetings with Dewey, ensuring they had insurance as they prepared to head to Las Vegas for an upcoming event. As this unfolded, Bourne was busy investigating Heather's online profile, seeking to understand her true motives for assisting him. In a parallel move, Dewey contacted the asset, ordering him to relocate to London. Shortly thereafter, Dewey received intelligence indicating that Aaron was planning something significant in Las Vegas. Determined to confront the situation head-on, Bourne traveled to London and boldly reached out to Malcolm Smith, arranging a meeting location. Meanwhile, Heather's strategy to engage Bourne was set in motion, with the asset on standby for any potential complications. However, the situation took a dark turn when the asset eliminated 2 of his own men, discreetly alerting Dewey to his actions. After dispatching 2 more operatives, Dewey seized control of Heather's operation, declaring that there would be no negotiation with Bourne and granting the asset full clearance to execute him. In a bustling plaza, Smith stood unaware as the asset's sniper scope trained on him. Suddenly, emergency alarms blared throughout the surrounding buildings, igniting panic and chaos. Amidst the turmoil, Bourne seized Smith and made a hasty escape, briefly locking eyes with Heather as he did so. He led Smith through a hidden door, pressing him for information about his father's motives for having Smith follow him. Unbeknownst to them, Dewey listened in secretly as Bourne threatened to silence Smith, dragging him to the rooftop for further questioning. Under Bourne's relentless interrogation, Smith finally confessed that after Jason was selected for the program, his father had chosen to abandon Treadstone and expose the CIA's covert activities. Tragically, Richard was killed in a setup designed to look like an attack on America. This shocking revelation was abruptly interrupted when the asset, whom Bourne recognized as his father's true murderer, shot and killed Smith. In a moment of desperation, Bourne used electrical cables to descend to the ground below. When the asset arrived at the scene, he found that Bourne had already vanished. Unbeknownst to him, Bourne had acquired Smith's earpiece and listened in on a conversation between Dewey and the asset. In this exchange, Dewey instructed the asset to head to Las Vegas and promised a plan for dealing with Bourne. Determined to act, Jason decided to reach out to Heather. During their conversation, she revealed that Iron Hand was exploiting Aaron's new technology for indiscriminate public surveillance. Despite her ulterior motive of wanting Dewey's position for herself, she offered to help Jason eliminate him. As Dewey arrived in Las Vegas, anxiety gnawed at him over the impending confrontation with Bourne. Meanwhile, Heather assisted Bourne in clearing airport customs, successfully sneaking him into the city. As guests began gathering for the expo, Bourne donned a hat to maintain a low profile and discreetly slipped a tracking device onto Heather. He messaged her with instructions to plant it on Dewey. With their plans set in motion, Aaron and Heather took the stage as the main guests of the event, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. As Aaron prepared to address the crowd, a tense atmosphere enveloped the venue. The asset, methodically slipping on a glove adorned with someone else's fingerprints, steeled himself for the execution of his mission. Meanwhile, Dewey, realizing that Heather had aided Bourne's entry into the country, issued a chilling command to the asset: eliminate both Aaron and Heather. Just as Aaron began his heartfelt confession to the audience, the asset took aim. However, at that critical moment, Bourne intervened, disrupting the asset's plans and inadvertently causing a non-fatal shot to hit Aaron. The chaos that erupted sent the crowd into a panic, providing Bourne with the perfect cover to slip away unnoticed. In the midst of the turmoil, Dewey demanded to be escorted to his suite. Bourne, ever resourceful, managed to track Dewey's location. On-site law enforcement quickly identified both the asset and Bourne, but Bourne outsmarted them by jumping into an elevator and disabling it, evading capture. Upon reaching Dewey's suite, Bourne confronted him, seeking answers to the web of lies that had ensnared him for years. Dewey coldly remarked that Bourne's father had lacked the resolve that Bourne possessed, asserting that true peace would elude him until he embraced his true identity. Just as tensions escalated in their confrontation, Jeffers burst into the room and fired at Bourne. As Dewey attempted to finish Bourne off, Heather unexpectedly shot him instead. Bourne quickly reassured her that she was not involved in the betrayal before racing off to pursue the asset. The assassin had already claimed a SWAT member's life and commandeered an armored police vehicle. Without hesitation, Bourne seized a black Dodge and launched himself after the asset. The authorities joined the pursuit, but Bourne skillfully maneuvered through their ranks. In a desperate attempt to shake him off, the asset rammed his van into Bourne's car, forcing him onto the opposite side of the road. Yet, Bourne remained relentless in his pursuit. The asset slammed on his brakes, triggering a pileup among the trailing police cars. Faced with a wall of traffic, he pressed down on the accelerator, bulldozing through vehicles to clear his escape route. However, Bourne was undeterred and continued to chase him down. In a final bid to outsmart Bourne, the asset attempted to execute a maneuver that Bourne himself had perfected, but Bourne, well versed in this strategy, anticipated the move and countered it deftly, keeping the chase alive. The asset's reckless driving led him to crash into car after car in a frantic attempt to flee. Frustrated with the prolonged pursuit, Bourne accelerated and collided with the van with enough force to send it spinning out of control. The asset, realizing he could no longer remain in the van, abandoned it and attempted to flee on foot. However, Bourne was close behind, relentless in his pursuit. The chase led them into a dimly lit tunnel, where the two adversaries faced off in a brutal hand-to-hand combat. From the outset, Bourne gained the upper hand, showcasing his superior fighting skills. In a desperate move, the asset brandished a knife, but Bourne deftly evaded the attack and disarmed him with practiced ease. The fight resumed, now stripped of any weapons, as they exchanged powerful blows. Bourne's prowess shone through as he finally overpowered the asset, slamming him to the ground and gripping his throat with an iron hold. With a decisive squeeze, he ended the struggle, achieving the revenge he had long sought. Exiting the tunnel, Bourne stumbled visibly from the wounds he had sustained during their fierce encounter. Meanwhile, Kalor, having survived the gunshot wound, remained resolute in his mission to expose the inner workings of Iron Hand, fueled by a newfound determination. In Washington, Heather met with the deputy director to discuss Dewey's recent actions and the potential for a fresh start. She boldly demanded a promotion to Dewey's former position, asserting that she was the best candidate to bring Bourne back into their fold. Later, Heather tracked down Bourne to return his father's medal. She attempted to persuade him to join her cause, but Bourne remained non-committal, simply stating that he would consider her proposition. As she made her way back to her car, Heather discovered a recorder hidden within it. Playing it back, she was shocked to hear her entire conversation with the deputy director had been recorded by Bourne, including her chilling declaration of intent to eliminate him should he refuse to comply. With that revelation weighing heavily on her mind, Bourne walked away, striding down a quiet pathway. And so, our tale draws to a close. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.